rolling out with the break of dawn. Canvas skies and the show goes on. Iron stakes and the hammer sound. Building dreams on this muddy ground. With sawdust running through our veins, we do it for the faces in the crowd. Step right up with R&B, 'cause this ain't just a show, it's circus history.
I got a question that I don't know if how far back you can answer it, but you said you're eight generation
Mhm.
circus. What did everyone else do
Yeah.
in your line of family?
Mostly clowns and acrobats. There was
Okay.
no animals. Yeah. I can't really tell you all the way back, but I know that my dad's dad, was a white-faced clown and a trapeze artist, and his brothers were clowns as well. And I have uncle and aunts; they were contortionists, and so on and so forth, going back eight generations. It's a long, long time.
Yeah.
But my granddad had yeah, some stories that were not so easy. Let's say they worked the plazas in Spain. They didn't have a tent or anything. So this is when he was young. So I want to say before the Second World War, or towards the beginning of the Second World War, because in Spain we had our own civil war. So we
Hmm.
weren't we weren't part of the Second World War. We had our own war in Spain,
Right.
and those years were pretty tough. They had a little wagon. It was pulled by a mule, and my granddad's brother's wife had 8 kids. They had 8 kids, and they all lived in the little
Wagon.
wagon. And my granddad and his brother slept outside underneath the wagon.
Oh wow.
So, and they would go from town to town and just set up, a little arena, and they
Like
worked
a little stage
little
on the
show.
sidewalk.
Not even, no, not even a stage on the cobblestones. Like, they
Wow.
just put up a little arena, and they just worked. And the kids would do some things, and my granddad did the trapeze. They had like a little, probably some poles or something to hang a little trapeze or something. So it was like what you imagine the circus to be back then, like really like nomadic, let's say, almost, like
Yeah. Wow.
but tough years. Yeah, tough years. And then when he met my grandmother went to watch a show in a plaza, and she saw my granddad on the trapeze, and she fell in love with him. But she said, I am not coming with you. I'm not I'm not doing this life. She said, I if you want to come with me, then we'll go and live in a house, you know? And so my granddad at that point, I think he said, okay, then I'll come with you. And then he was a miner actually for about 40 years. He worked in the mines.
Oh wow.
He went from tough life to even
Even
tougher
tougher
life, I
life.
think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I bet. Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, that's what he did.
So that's amazing that, performers would just, travel city to city like that back in, the early, like,
Town to town, little towns also. Not so much the
well,
cities, it was just the little towns. And yeah.
Yeah. That's like you
But
see. That's almost like you see in the movies with the gypsies.
basically,
Yeah. Yeah.
basically, yeah, that's basically it, yeah. And it was a tough life, and food was scarce, and also Second World War time in Spain was a hard Civil War time in Spain was a really tough time as well. And I think that's probably one of the reasons also why he decided to leave with my grandma, because it was a hard life. It was really hard. It was hard, you know. But also there's that, even at that kind of circus. Back then there were big circuses already, but that small kind of show, arena show, let's say, there's a big portion of love that goes into that as well, to do that. And when I think about that, I also think it's very nostalgic to think that my granddad lived that life, and my great uncles and great aunts and all my cousins, my older cousins now, they lived that. It's pretty amazing, just amazing to think it wasn't really that long ago if you really think about it. How everything has progressed.
It
It's
was,
unbelievable.
yeah,
Yeah. Oh
it
yeah.
wasn't that long ago, but it was forever ago.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, not the
So,
same exactly.
um,
But it feels a little bit like now. Life is it's so much. It's not for everyone, obviously. I'm speaking in our world. Everything's easier now than it was back then. you know
well, yeah,
it's
we have
it's
AC.
easier than it was back then, no.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
apart from the AC, but everything else as well. There is a sense of privilege in our world right now. In the Western world, there are parts of the world that they're very difficult. But what I'm trying to say is that back then they went through situations that if we had to go through them now, it would be like,
It would break us.
what is going on? And they just live that day to day.
Yeah,
You know,
Oh
it
yeah.
would break us
yeah,
now, but back then that was their everyday life.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, we're just used to a different kind of life now, I would say.
So, as you said your grandparents, they would move town to town, or your grandfather would move town to town. And as a director now, have you ever thought about doing a little pop-up circus show like that where you have a few little cities? Has that ever crossed your mind
Not
or?
really, no.
Oh, okay.
No, no, it hasn't. Not really, no. Um, People are very I would say spoiled now with the internet. It's always harder to entertain folks. It's getting harder and harder to entertain
Mm.
people, because don't forget, they can watch whatever they want on their phone. They can go on YouTube, they can watch
Yeah.
anything they want. They've got Netflix, they've got Disney Plus, they've got, it's never ending. Entertainment now is a button away. So once upon a time, you didn't have any of that. So when a little arena came, a little arena show came to your plaza, wow, what's this? This is exciting, something that's taking our mind off the difficulties of life or whatever. And so, yeah, it's not
It wouldn't translate over
like, hats
today.
off to the people that I think it would, but it's not what I've done. I've done tenting shows, I've
Hmm.
done circus,
Yep.
so my husband and I, we're doing what we know, sort of.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
where do you see? Good. You were gonna say something?
No, 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 sorry.
It's like, so where do you see? Okay, but so where do you see the future of the circus? Like maybe 10, 15 years from now? How do you think the circus will be?
Globally, you mean?
Yeah, it's just the circus in general. Yep.
Circus in general. Well, I think the circus is always going to be the circus, but I do see the steps that people are taking and shows are taking incredibly fast, linked with technology. I see a lot of technology coming into the circus. That's what I'm seeing now. So in 10, 15, 20 years, I'll probably even more. There's a lot of screens at the circus, and there's these incredible light features in circus, and like special effects. I think it's always going to be more linked with special effects and all that, even though I really do, as much as I love that, I do feel like we have to keep the essence of what circus is. Almost like less is more sometimes. It really is less is more. For me, less is more sometimes when it comes to technology and circus
Oh yeah,
together. It obviously it depends what kind of.
you definitely have to keep the person on the high wire.
What
You
is it?
can't
Oh yeah. Yeah, for sure,
you
for
can't
sure, for
special
sure.
effects that.
But no, no, no. But I mean, the technical side of the circus is changing so
Hmm.
much. The lighting, the sound, the special effects. I feel personally that too much of that takes away from the incredible things that the people are doing on stage.
Oh
Oh yeah.
yeah, we
If there's so many lights effects and smoke and fire and water and all that, which is really great. It's a great sensory experience, but you have such talent working in center stage. I feel like when there's too much technology, it takes away from what that person is doing, takes away from.
Yeah, makes sense.
That's my opinion. Everyone has a different opinion on that. I can give you a small example. 2 years ago, we had a comic, a comedian. He wasn't really a clown, more like a comedian. And throughout the show, it was the classic. He was a cleaner he was the cleaner, and he wanted to be the clown. And we had another guy that was the clown of the show, and he wanted to be the clown of the show, but the ringmaster kept saying, "You're the cleaner, keep the cleaning." You know, this was a classical gag of circus,
Mhm.
right? And so towards the end of the show, he manages to the clown kind of disappears, and the ringmaster is looking for the clown. And this guy comes in and he says, "It's your chance. Go on now," because the clown's disappeared for a second. So then he becomes sort of like a clown for a minute, and he does an act, and it's wonderful. He was really, really good. And at the end of this, just shows you how going back to the basics is really, when you go sometimes back to basics, it's what touches people the most. It's not the big, big, big thing, it's the smallest thing. At the end of the show, everyone came in for the great finale. Everyone's there. They're like the last goodbye, and everyone goes out, and he stays on the ring watching everyone leave. So the curtain closes, and he's still on the ring. And so a really beautiful music comes on, and he takes off his costume and puts his cleaning thing back on, his cleaning jacket back on, and he grabs his suitcase as if he's finished and he's leaving the tent. And this kid comes out that was working the show with us, comes out and grabs his hand and basically, signals to the backstage and says, "You're part of the circus, so come back with us."
Nice.
And people were crying, like the audience. I can't believe it touched them so much. This little
Yeah.
ending touched them so much, and it's so simple. It's so simple. It's belonging. Yeah, it's belonging. It's also the fact that there was a child was doing it is something. Um, it just pulled at everyone's heartstrings, and I would have people come after the show going, "Oh my god, that ending was just so wonderful, thank you, it's so raw, so it made us feel something." And ultimately that's what you want to do when people come watch a show. You want them to feel something,
Oh
feel
yeah.
emotions, if that's sadness or
Yeah.
nostalgia, if it's happiness, or it's thrill, whatever. I feel like circus, if a person goes, sits down, watch a show and leaves in the same feeling as when they came, I think it's a failure of a show.
Yeah.
People have to leave with a sense, some feeling, whatever that is. Everyone can interpret the things in a different way, but you have to give them a sensation. And I feel that's what it is. And I didn't need loads of effects for that. I just needed, one person, Santiago in this case, Foresi, which is, he's an actor, he's from Argentina, who delivered so well playing this character, which was someone that really wanted to be part of the circus world. But, fate would have it, he wasn't. But then at the end, it turned around, and this child came and brought him back in and said, "No, no, but you are part of our family." And it was just so wonderful. And just to go back to how I feel like less is more sometimes, and you can connect with the audience with less rather than with so much technology, and just with things being so big. Do you know what I mean? Even though I think moving forward, every type of entertainment industry is getting more advanced in the technological side. So we have to go with them. We can't just stay back. But there are also lots of little circuses which keep things very classic, and I feel
Traditional.
like there's a lot of people, yeah, traditional, but to the essence of the tradition. Like there's a little circus in England called Gifford Circus, which is a small little show, and it's more towards the theatrical experience, but the audience love it. And that's what I'm trying to say, basically, that I feel like sometimes less is more when it comes to producing a show. And when I produce the shows with my husband and put the show together, for me it's always, I want the people to feel something, and at the end of the show to leave and say, I've been touched. You know what I mean? Like in whatever way that is, highs, lows, whatever, but for them to go back and say, "Wow, what a great time we had." Yeah.
So
With that said, what is one of your memorable crowd interactions after a show?
with audience.
Yes.
Yeah. Do you have anything?
To tell you the truth, after our the end of the show, all of our performers go to our front tent where the people come in, and they stand in line. And as the audience goes out, they get to meet all the artists. They're still in their costumes. They get to meet the artists. They talk to the artists, get pictures, and it's nice because as the people come out, they've seen an incredible show, but then they see the actual artist right there, and they're like, oh my god, it's like the experience, like they're real, like they're it's not a movie, they're here, and you can talk to them, and you can you can interact with them, and it's always nice. My husband and I are always there as well to say thank you to the audience for coming, and it's very nice because that's they've never had that in my city as well. It's a first, so it's nice to see the audience reaction because they just don't know. They come out and they're like, "What is this?" They have no idea what's happening. But it's yeah, they come to us and they let us know that they come every year, and that and they will continue to come, and that they feel so lucky to have the circus arts in their city, and also because it what the feedback we get is that it brings the families together, because the grandma, the granddad, the son and daughter, and the kids and the grandkids, they all come together, and everybody can relate to a certain part of the show, and everyone has, oh, I like this better this year, and I like this act better last year, and they can kind of comment a little bit about shows that have gone from the past to the present show and so on, so um, it's always a great feedback and a great feeling. It's a great feeling. It's really really nice.
And is every year themed? And um is this in a tent?
It's in a tent. It's in a tent, and there's no theme. It's just the first edition, second edition, third edition. The show is about 2 hours long, and we just get acts from all over the world, and everyone does their own act. So
Oh, okay, gotcha.
let's say the challenge, yeah, the challenge for me would be to find acts that work well together,
That,
because you can't just say I want this, 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 and put it together, and it doesn't make it a good show.
yeah, you have to blend it.
Right.
You have to blend it, and you also have to keep in mind how many female acts or male acts or troops or singles or fast-paced act and slow-paced acts and aerial and ground, and because you want the show to be diverse enough for people not to get bored, but you also don't want the
Sure.
show to be completely high impact the whole time or slow the whole time. So you have to find a balance that works, as in you start in one way and then you kind of create a lift, and then it goes back down, and then you know what I
Like a
mean?
roller coaster.
A good balance. Like a
Yep.
exactly, like a roller coaster. But yeah, definitely. That's my challenge every
We might
year, is
have
to
to come
find
check this
a
circus
show
out
that
then.
you're
Yeah.
always welcome. Always welcome.
Do you guys have animal acts in yours?
No animal acts.
No animal acts.
It's just human acts, yeah. Not that we don't want to, but
Right.
unfortunately in Spain it's becoming harder and harder to have shows with animals, as the actual city councils won't welcome you. So it's not
Mm,
prohibited. You could do it, but you don't. It's hard to get sponsors or
sure.
promoters, sponsors, collaborators, and the city council, even though they can't deny it, but they can make it very hard for you to get the ground. We're on a very good ground, quite central. So being an event that you want to do every Christmas, you don't want to start going backwards.
No.
You know what I mean? We want to
Sure.
just. So unfortunately, very unfortunately, because I would love to have animals in our show.
And I mean,
They'll-
does that include like even like dogs, small animals?
No animals whatsoever. Nothing. Not even a pigeon.
Wow.
Nothing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Strict laws.
Yeah. And yeah, it's a shame. It really is a shame, because I feel like the children are missing out, on the animal part of the circus. That wonder that you get only when you watch a show with animals. It really was spectacular.
Oh yeah.
And but times change, the audience changes, and you have to respect what the audience want to see as well. So, if it was up to me, of course, I would have animals in my show. But it's just like I said, it comes down to city councils as well, and it's difficult. It's very hard.
What are some of the acts that you look for as a director for your show? What would be like some of the things that like, oh, are actually, I'll rephrase that. Um, when you're looking for acts, what are some of the things that stand out when you're like scouring? How do you, I guess you look on the internet?
Well, no, I contact artists directly, or with artist agencies. So I have a few that I work with very closely, and I would say, this year I'm looking for this, and this, and they would tell me I've got these acts available, and I would have a look. But for me, it's not what you do, it's how you do it. So you can have an act that's incredible, what you do is out of this world, but if you don't sell it, for me it doesn't really the value for me goes down. It's the personality, the connection that an artist has with the audience, because ultimately it's what you're making the audience
Hmm.
feel. So you don't want to just look out into the void of the audience and just run through the motions. You want to live the act. So that's what I look at. I look at the personality. Also, obviously, the technical side of things, how they look, their costumes, their music, all of it. But the first thing I would say is how they present it, and the personality they have, the charisma that comes through. And that can be in many different ways. That's what I look for mostly.
Okay.
Yeah. You know, I've watched shows before that were 3 hours long,
Hmm.
and every single act was incredible, like incredible, the best acts in the world for 3 hours, and you'd think, oh my god, the best show ever, and at the end of the show, you're like this because it's too much.
Yeah,
It's too much.
it's
It's just too much. You know what I mean?
sensory overload.
You get
Yeah.
tired. Yeah, no, absolutely. And you have one incredible act, then another one, and after 3 hours, you're like, oh my god, I need to go to bed. Like I just can't take it anymore. That's why it's so important to give people a breather, so to speak. Do you know
Intermission.
what I mean? You can have a really
Yeah. Oh yeah.
on the edges of their seats, but the next act has to let them breathe and be beautiful and be elegant and gorgeous, and but you got to give them a moment to breathe, because if not, they will leave exhausted and also just like, oh, it was okay. It's like, all right. So that's also the challenge in putting a show together. Yeah, definitely.
You ever have any real like memorable acts that you looked out and said, "Wow, that's me and my sister."
What do you mean?
Like I don't know. Well, you ever watch one of your shows and it just takes you back watching a certain act? You're just like,
um Not really, because there aren't, to be honest, there aren't many double female girls acts doing hand to hand, and that would be the only thing that would really take me back. But anything acrobatic takes me back a little bit, but not in a sad way, if that makes any sense. I feel like
Nostalgic.
right.
we have very, very good. Yeah, not really. It
That's
just, I appreciate everybody. If I get an act that I really like, I'm a big, big fan of trapeze. So, flying like the actual troop trapeze, but just solo swing trapeze or duo swing trapeze. When I see a trapeze act, I just feel like that's what I've always wanted to do, and I never got the chance to do it. And so when I see a beautiful flying trapeze, and it's just like I just watch it every time, and it's just so incredible. And the audience is feeling when they drop off, when they fly in the air and all. It's just wonderful. I love it. But I don't really get that feeling of taking me back to my sister. I love watching her perform. When I watch her perform, I always get a little bit emotional because I miss her. Obviously, I miss being with
sure,
her,
sure.
and I kind of miss us like together on stage. But I don't miss doing the act necessarily because it was a really tough. It was a very physical act, and I don't miss doing that. Like I feel like I stopped in the right moment. But I miss her. So I would say the only time I get a little bit, emotional is when I watch my sister, because we shared a lot. We shared very important moments together on stage, and that I will always carry with me, and she will as well. And it was our act was our entire life was our career together, and
Oh, sure.
I feel like all the opportunities I've had after is thanks to the career I had with her, for sure.
So
Right
coming
on.
up this year, this Christmas, do you have any acts that you already have
Hmm.
in mind that you can tell us now, or is that still all secret?
Can't tell you, unfortunately,
Okay,
because yeah, I can't really tell you yet. But I am already speaking to about 3 acts. Yeah. So, but I can't tell you who it is.
that's
But
fine.
I can say that to me, the most important part of a show is the comedy. The comedy side of a show to me is the most important part of it. It's what brings everything together. And if people laugh, when people laugh, they truly forget their problems. So if you manage to get the people laughing as much as you can in a show, they're definitely going to go away saying, "Oh, I had such a great time." When you go watch a very good comedy show, stand up or what have you, but it's comedy and you're laughing, that
Oh
is
yeah.
when you truly leave and say, "Oh my gosh, what a great night. What a laugh. What a, you know?" So, yeah, the comedy side of things for me, I would say is the most, in my opinion, the most important part of the show. So I always try and book the comedy side first, and then I continue with on to the rest, and so on and so forth.
Very
Say
nice.
laughter is the good medicine. So,
Absolutely, the best medicine.
oh yeah.
Yeah, and I'm also a massive fan of traditional clowns. My father's a traditional clown, so I'm kind of biased, but I do feel like, in a sense, the traditional clown is slowly
So,
disappearing
so
along with
one
the animal.
1 second.
Yeah.
Can you explain traditional clown? Because a lot of our viewers know like Ringling.
Ringling clowns are like traditional clowns. They
Traditional?
have the makeup, they have the big shoes,
Okay.
they have the big makeup, they have shoes. It's more like the slapstick sort of comedy, they don't speak, most of them don't speak. Some of them speak, but most of them don't speak. And they have a wig and they have, that's the traditional clown. And that's also the comedy that resonates most with the kids, I find, with the children. But there is the American traditional clown and there's the
That's what I really
European
meant.
traditional
Yeah.
clown. They're different kinds, yeah, different types of comedy. The American traditional
Oh,
clown is a different type of comedy. They look similar, but it's slightly different, slightly different. But they usually all play an instrument as well, and there's musical clowns too. But I find that to be a very important part and key to always try and have a clown in the show. You know what I mean? Like, you can have various types of comedy. You can have comedy like a comic that doesn't look like a clown, but he's very funny in other things. You can have a comedy magic act, a comedy acrobatic act, whatever, what have you. There's loads of different kinds of comedy acts, but I try every year to have at least one act or two that are with a clown, a real clown, because I don't want that to disappear. I really don't. People, when they think of the circus, they think of clowns. They think of the animals and they think of clowns. The animals are,
yeah.
unfortunately, they got out of our hands, and it's just getting harder and harder. But I feel like the traditional clown is slowly going into that direction as well. And I certainly, that will not be happening in my show. I will always have a traditional clown in my show, for sure.
Very nice.
Right on. Did you ever use the tiny car?
Sorry, V?
The tiny car?
No.
So when people think of clowns, they always think of the little car pulling up and it's a
The
hundred
car,
clowns
no,
popping out.
no, no. I haven't had that yet. I haven't had that yet. But my parents do an act with water. It's called the water entree, and it's a gag with water, and they get absolutely soaked. I mean, soaked with water,
Oh
and they
boy.
wet the audience and everything. And yeah, that they were with us last year, and it was so wonderful. And the people, especially the older generation, would come up to me and say, "We haven't seen clowns in years, like clowns like that good as well." Thank you so much. You brought us back to being a kid, and it's
Mm-hmm.
so good. So, but like real laughter, belly laughter, like, yeah,
Oh
it
yeah,
was
that's good stuff.
fantastic. My favorite part of the show last year was watching my parents work, because obviously I know the act like the back of my hand. So I knew the key points, and the people they delivered, they loved it. They absolutely loved it. And so, yeah, I love a more traditional modern act, but I always want to keep certain aspects of the show really pulling towards the traditional, of the tradition, and the cultural side of the circus arts, to not lose
So
that,
we
so to say.
we normally ask we normally ask clowns this question, but it sounds like you have a very passionate opinion on the matter. Where do you see clowning in the next few years? Because we've noticed there's been a small dip, but we have our own
There is
opinion, um, but we would like to know yours.
there is yeah, there is a dip, but the issue I think the issue really lies in the producers, because I feel like producers have, I'm not talking about everyone, obviously, but producers have kind of gone more towards the more modern, like comedy guy sort of, without the makeup and without all that. They've gone more towards that kind of comedy, and kind of pushed traditional clowns away, in a way of like, that's not fashionable right now. That's not in, sort of thing. And that's my feeling. Like, that maybe we're gonna take a break from that, and we're gonna go with this kind of comedy, which is a guy that looks quirky, like some sort of a character, but he's not a clown, because clowns have red noses, and there's a very distinct look to being a clown, and they're very good, but they're not traditional clowns. And I feel like that's been very successful, and people, younger generations, instead of going towards the clowning, um, art, they've pulled towards this sort of comedy. And since it's successful, and some of them are very, very good, the new generation go with what's kind of in right now. So you don't have the families pushing their kids to be like clowns anymore, So then, like I said, that is slowly, slowly disappearing. And I feel like, being a producer, we have a responsibility to keep that alive. I really, in my core, believe that we have a responsibility to keep that alive. That being said, there's good and bad in in everything. So it's always harder to find the good ones, because, like I said, there's no new generation
Hmm.
coming up. So then they're getting older and older, you know, and the younger ones are not aspiring to be that form of comedy. They're trying to be something else, because that's what's getting work. So I think it all comes down to,
Sure.
if producers were to um, take the traditional more, then we would have younger people going in their footsteps. But since that's not really what's in right now, the young generation don't go in that way, they go in a different way. And so that's how I feel is, unfortunately, I feel like it's getting less and less that, we don't the next generation might say, no, we all want to be clowns, and it might all come back. But that's where I think it's going. I feel like the youth right now sees that there's always less traditional clowns in circuses, and they don't strive to be that anymore. They're evolving with the times. That's how, unfortunately, it's how it is. But like I said, I feel a responsibility to keep certain aspects of the circus alive, like a ringmaster, clowns. Certain acts are like, not every year, because you have to change your act, but certain things have to be back every year. I feel like a ringmaster in a show is very important. There's lots of shows that don't have a ringmaster, but it all depends on your preference and what kind of show you have. A lot goes into that. But yeah, going back to clowns, I can't say for definite, but I feel like that's what's going on. I feel like that's what's going on. And having, a father and like a family tradition of very, very good clowns, I feel like the new generation, they have so much material to work with. That doesn't mean you have to copy anyone, but there's so many clowns in the previous generations you can get inspiration
Well, I
from,
mean, there's
They have
There's
so
so
much.
many gags out there that you can rework into your own and still make it wonderful.
Oh
I
yeah.
mean, I know a lot of great clowns
Absolutely.
that rework a lot of old material and make it their own, and it's great.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more. So I think like it's just up to the new generation now to maybe have the courage to say, "Hey, I want to try this. You know, I want to make this my own, and I want to be a traditional clown." That's not what I'm seeing, unfortunately. But I think if more places respected the tradition a little more, and even if it's not your cup of tea, let's say there might be some producers say, I just don't like traditional clowns. I just don't, they freak me out or whatever. I don't like it. But you can have a merge. You can sort of have a look with someone that looks like a clown, and then you can have another comedy. You can have comedies that work
Oh yeah.
together. But like I said, yeah, I think it's important to keep that alive. That's my opinion.
Well, I know from, the American side, because I know a lot more clowns here.
Yeah.
But I know a lot of them are keeping clowning alive. Full white face,
Yes.
full,
Yes.
a goose,
Yes.
and so I think it was on it since 2017 when Ringling closed down. I think it's gone down, but I think now in the last year or two, it's on a uprise.
Well, I really hope so. I do hope so. It would be a shame to lose, to lose probably one of the most, if not the most important part. It's such a the like you say, the white faced clown, the August, the second August. Even the trios, the duos of troops of clowns.
Oh yeah.
They're very they're very rare to find nowadays, and good quality ones that play music. As well. It's so wonderful to have. The pie gags, the cream gags, the water gags, getting dirty.
The
I don't
water
know.
bottles, yeah.
There's a whole world when it comes to clowning. And yeah, clowning is in my heart, obviously, because my parents are both clowns. But it's something we have to keep alive as producers, because if we don't give them jobs, they're gonna eventually just disappear. you know
It's very true. It's very true.
Mm.
Do you guys run more than one ring, or is it a one
It's
ring?
one ring. It's one ring.
Okay.
It's not a massive tent. It's a smaller tent. It's about 800 places, 800 seats. So it's
Wow.
quite a small and intimate setting.
Sure.
Yeah,
That's pretty cool.
yeah. It's fun. It's a fun experience, to be honest. And it's we work all year just for 1 month. So to organize a 1 month event, we're planning all year. So when it gets to it, it's like, oh, finally. And when the shows begin, it's like we can finally like exhale, because there's so much planning and preparing, to make it, for that to go on. I feel like there's so much bureaucracy that goes with it as well, and visas and work permits. And since we're getting acts from all over the world, it's there's a lot of office work behind it.
Oh yeah, I couldn't even imagine the administrative
A lot.
headache behind running a. Every time we talk to someone who produces or owns or runs a circus, we are like, we couldn't even imagine.
Yeah, it's a lot. And my husband doesn't speak Spanish, and we're doing it in Spain. So I have a wonderful team that I'm very, very grateful for. But I have to carry the burden of most of it on my shoulders. But it's I love it, and we do it. And it's fun, and it's wonderful, and it's in my blood. And I feel very, very privileged to be able to have the opportunity to do it, and to continue in a different way, but to continue that, the legacy of my family, for sure,
Oh, fair.
with Alex. Yeah.
So,
Right on.
would there be anything that you would want to say to someone that is young and inspiring to become an aerialist, hand to hand and a producer, anything like that? What would you say to someone that is young and wanting to get into the field? Young, young as a teenager or young adult?
I would say it's gonna get worse before it gets better, and I would say that it's a lot of. If you want to get to a high level, you have to work. If you don't work really, really hard, you're not gonna get anywhere. But that's in any field. So don't get discouraged when things get hard. I would say, because when they get really hard is usually when they get better. So I would say persevere. Persevere, and if you have a dream, follow it, and don't let anybody tell you you can't do it. That's what I would tell them.
Right on. Well, that's try to think. I had a question lined up, but it was the question that he just asked you. So
Okay.
so I was going to say the same thing. What would you say to people out there? But um,
Yeah, I would definitely say that. That's what I would say. You know, I I I
well,
uh, I worked in my act was in a field that was primarily for men. It was a male a man's world. Hand to hand is a man's world because the men are the bases. And so there was a lot of we I felt a lot of judgment um in that world, a lot of this is a man's act, why don't you do something else, or you don't need to do so much, you can just be pretty and smile, that's enough. And so my you know my thing was always I have to do more. If this is what men do, I have to be better than them, I have to work harder, I have to work much harder. So that's why when I say to younger people listening, especially if they're doing something that is from primarily from a different gender, don't let anybody tell you that you can't do it or you shouldn't be doing it, or you want to do it, you do it. But it's
right on.
it's not going to be, nothing's easy. If you want to do something correctly, you need to train, you need to study, you need to work hard. And yeah, I feel very proud, and I think I proved a lot of them wrong. So yeah.
Good. Hey, made you tougher, stronger.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, heck yeah. All right. Well, with that said, we are coming to close. So before we go, obviously, thank you for taking the time to talk with us. But could you tell everybody like how they can follow you, find you, where they can go get tickets for your show?
Well, if you're ever in the north of Spain, in a town called Gijón, we are there this Christmas. We will be beginning from the 3rd, 10th, 7th, 11th of December until the 3rd of January. We'll be in Gijón on our show, the 4th edition of Circo de Navidad de Gijón. And I'm on Instagram as well. And our page is on Instagram, Circo de Navidad. Yeah, if you're ever there, you're always welcome. Just let me know you watch the podcast and I'll invite you to watch the show. And it's been a real pleasure to be here with you guys. It's my first experience on a podcast and very, very interesting. And it's been very nice to share a little part of my life with you guys.
Oh, we're
For
honored.
sure.
Yeah, we enjoyed it. Thank you. And to all
You.
our listeners and watchers tuning in, thank you. And don't forget to share and like and subscribe. And with that said, till next time, we'll see you down the road.
See you down the road.